In the mountains of Sichuan province, entire villages disappeared under a veil of secrecy. Families who had lived there for generations suddenly found their land confiscated and their homes marked for removal. When they asked local officials why this was happening, the answer they received was short, cold, and unsettling. State secret. That phrase transformed a local land dispute into a national mystery. What could be so sensitive that ordinary people were forced out without a real explanation? And why would remote villages become important enough to vanish from the landscape? Those questions would eventually lead investigators to one of the most secretive and strategically important construction efforts in modern China. Years later, satellite imagery began to reveal the truth. The villages were not simply moved or rebuilt somewhere else. They were flattened. Roads were redrawn. New industrial structures began to rise where homes and farms had once stood. What had looked like a local administrative issue now appeared to be part of a much larger national project. The transformation was systematic, fast, and heavily protected. Instead of rural life, the area now showed signs of a hardened industrial and military support zone. Each new image suggested that the land had been repurposed for something far more consequential than ordinary infrastructure development. Sichuan is not an ordinary backdrop in this story. For decades, this region has held deep strategic value inside China's defense architecture. Mountainous terrain, hidden valleys, and existing military infrastructure make it an ideal place for sensitive projects. Around Zhejiang County lies a network of facilities long associated with the country's nuclear weapons program. During the Cold War, outside intelligence agencies already identified this broader area as significant. But what makes the current moment so alarming is not merely the existence of old facilities. It is the evidence that those facilities are being revived, expanded, and integrated into a more modern system. At the center of the renewed attention is a place known as Site 906. Within only a few years, a massive dome-like structure appeared near the Tongjiang River. This was not a small warehouse or a routine state building. It was a huge reinforced installation, surrounded by security measures and linked to supporting structures. The speed of construction alone raised questions. Projects of this scale are not undertaken casually. They require planning, logistics, funding, and purpose. The site's placement within a known nuclear complex made the dome especially significant, suggesting that China may be building new capacity for handling the most dangerous materials in its arsenal. Analysts who studied the site pointed to details that made the structure even more suspicious. Ventilation towers, blast-resistant features, sealed access points, and complex pipe networks all appeared in the imagery. These are not the hallmarks of ordinary manufacturing. Such design choices are more often associated with environments that must contain hazardous or radioactive materials. The implication is serious. If these features are being interpreted correctly, then the facility may support activities related to uranium, plutonium, or other highly sensitive nuclear processes. Architecture alone does not prove everything. But in places like this, architecture often speaks louder than public statements. The surrounding security further deepens the mystery. Multiple layers of fencing, controlled entry points, and nearby tunnel access into the mountains all suggest that this is a site of exceptional value. High security zones are built to protect critical assets, conceal activity, and restrict outside observation. In this case, the security posture indicates that whatever is happening there is not temporary and not routine. It points to a long-term role in a sensitive national mission. When secrecy, engineering complexity, and rapid development all come together in one place, they form a pattern that is difficult to ignore. Site 906 is only part of the broader transformation. Another nearby location, Site 931, has also expanded into surrounding civilian areas. Villages such as Baitu and Dashun were reportedly cleared as development moved outward. This is one of the most striking aspects of the story. The expansion is not confined to a single building or compound. It affects the entire local geography. Civilian land gives way to state-controlled zones. Roads shift. Population patterns change. In strategic terms, that suggests the footprint of the operation is growing, not just the intensity of work inside an existing fence line. Large strategic programs do not depend only on laboratories and guarded buildings. They also require movement, materials, equipment, workers, and support systems. That is why upgraded roads and rail links matter so much. Reports of transportation nodes being overhauled in the wider region indicate that the network is becoming more capable, more connected, and more resilient. Logistics are the hidden bloodstream of any major weapons program. When roads are strengthened and transfer points modernized, it often signals that planners expect larger volumes, higher tempo, or more important missions in the future. There is an eerie continuity between the past and the present. During the 1970s, intelligence assessments already viewed this network as a turning point for China's strategic weapons production. Decades later, the same geography is being reshaped again. That does not necessarily mean the same exact functions are being repeated. In fact, the opposite may be true. Old infrastructure may now be serving new technologies, new production methods, and new strategic goals. In that sense, this is not simply a restoration of the past, it is the modernization of a legacy system for a more dangerous and technologically advanced era. China's nuclear arsenal remains smaller than those of the United States and Russia. But size alone does not capture the significance of what is changing. The pace of modernization matters. The direction of investment matters. The possibility of new warhead development matters. Even if China is still numerically behind, a rapid expansion in production infrastructure can alter long-term expectations across the world. Strategic planners do not react only to what exists today. They react to what may exist tomorrow. And when a state appears to be building future capacity under deep secrecy, rival powers pay very close attention. All of this is unfolding at a time when the global arms control system is under severe strain. Agreements that once helped limit escalation are weakening, expiring, or failing to keep pace with new realities. Trust between major powers is low. Accusations are traded. Verification becomes harder. In such an environment, every hidden construction project can carry greater meaning than it otherwise would. A facility in Sichuan is no longer just a domestic matter. It becomes part of a global conversation about deterrence, transparency, and whether a new arms race is quietly taking shape. For governments around the world, this issue is not only about China. It is about how all major powers interpret one another's intentions. A build-up in one country can trigger countermeasures in another. More surveillance, more spending, more distrust, and more aggressive military planning can follow. The effects ripple outward. Allies adjust policy. Neighbors rethink security assumptions. Intelligence agencies expand monitoring. In the nuclear age, infrastructure itself becomes a message. A dome, a tunnel, a rail upgrade. And a demolished village can collectively say more than any official press conference ever will. Perhaps the most unsettling part of this story is how much of it remains indirect. Satellite imagery, engineering clues, land seizures, and transport upgrades all point in the same direction. But secrecy prevents complete certainty. That uncertainty is itself dangerous. When states cannot clearly read each other's intentions, they often prepare for the worst. That is how miscalculation grows. Not always from obvious hostility, but from silence, suspicion, and shadowed expansion. In the end, the question is not only what China is building in Sichuan. The question is how the rest of the world will respond to what it believes China may be building.